you hand all the paperwork in, your student has to wait to take a test. And then you wait. You wait for a very long time to get that test score. And then when you get that test score, then you take your test score before you even know if you're applying for a school yet. So it's the stress of every step of the way. You have to wait, and you have to wait, and you have to wait. So you wait for the acceptance letter too. It's like it's a constant wait, and that whole wait gives you a heart attack like the whole time.
Marisol, parent of Lily, isn't talking about applying to college. She's talking about applying her daughter into a Chicago Selective Enrollment high school. Selective Enrollment high schools are application-based programs for higher achieving students under Chicago Public Schools, or CPS. There are about a dozen of these public high schools in Chicago at the moment. Lily is a junior at one of these such schools and has enjoyed her experience there.
Personally, I do think that the academics are a little more advanced simply because you do have to test to get into it. I absolutely love it. I love going to school. I have met so many new people and I've had so many new experiences.
Of course, not every student can test into a school like this.
And then you have friends. We had several people that we knew that took the test at the same time. And those who didn't get in, there was this heartbreak and there was conversation.
If you're the parent of a selective enrollment student, you want them to have access to the best. But the reason that we have that motivation is because everything is not equal, and everything isn't the best.
This is Stephanie Crozier. She's worked in the Chicago Charter School Network and currently helps develop teachers and curriculums to be more anti-racist and equitable.
I'm not going to devalue selective enrollment schools because I understand that it gives many kids access to opportunities they might not have in their neighborhood school. But I do just want to add to the conversation that choice shouldn't be on the table, right? Like you shouldn't have to compete against a million kids in the city for, 11 schools. That's just not fair. Like those odds are not in many people's favor.
Stephen McLean, a former CPS principal at Curtis Elementary, discussed with me problems he had to face running his neighborhood school.
Specific communities in Chicago need more support than others. And so I work on 115th in Michigan. You're heading into Indiana in a community that's very isolated and that is under-resourced. All those community issues became a part of my school challenge. And we made it our personal mission to ensure that we were supporting the entire child, not just their academic needs, but their social emotional needs. And that required a lot of resources.
Despite the need for resources, CPS was not able to help out the school in the way that his students needed.
I felt it was important for our school to have what we call crisis therapists. So if there was an incident in the community or if a child experienced grief or loss, there was someone on hand to support that. And the way that schools are traditionally funded, you don't necessarily get that. And so I had to make some decisions about what was best for our community.
Kelly Garcia, a local journalist who reports on local school councils and city budgeting, connects the struggle McLean faced to the mass school closings on Chicago's South Side.
The process of really investing in selective enrollment schools, I think, it's a deliberate move to cut, remove, and defund a lot of the public services that are available on the South and West Sides. We're seeing neighborhood schools be disinvested, and for reasons that mostly are in the control of CPS, right? So you hear a lot of the times, neighborhood schools aren't great, academically, or they're not successful in the ways that in a way that where we can quote unquote save them, right? And while I understand the need, especially from a parent perspective or from a community or student perspective of wanting to enroll your kid in a better school, I think CPS definitely has a responsibility to better invest in neighborhood schools so that families don't have to feel like they have to choose between the school that's around the block and a school that's miles away just because it's more academically successful.
All of these accounts raise this one question: how do we get more equitable learning out of Chicago public schools?
I think about really strong teachers in our schools, and before teachers can get to the schools, they have to be trained, right? So there's this kind of domino effect that is more systemic. In order for us to attract the best and the brightest minds to education, people need to see it as a viable career, which means we might have to pay them more, right? And that's something that is more state or nationally control.
Money needs to come from the state, right? So I think that's where CPS is lacking a lot of the funding. And I think we also do need a lot of federal funding as well. Also, I think that as a city, and I would say this even beyond CPS, I think we need to reevaluate how we distribute our own funds.
A lot of the research shows that if schools are integrated, they perform better. And so for me, I really think we should prioritize integrating our schools. Most of our schools are completely homogeneous. We've got to really focus intentionally, putting our dollars behind and supporting that there is value in having our kids in a very diverse space. So I do think we've got a lifelong journey here, because we have to own the trauma that has been experienced by many people in our country, and we've really yet to do that.
The steps towards equitable learning in Chicago are complicated, but Lily and her peers need them to be carried out.